Welcome to Razz My Berries. My name is Crystal, this is Ryan, and we're here to review King Kong 1933 version.
Wow, that went better than I expected. Good
Yay!
job. You did good. And then you...
Okay.
I was going to try to something funny. Cue the intro music. So, good job. Maybe we need her more on episodes in the future, because that actually was not a bad intro.
Thumbs up if you agree.
Yeah, I guess. So yes, as Crystal stated, we today watched a very classic film and of iconic status, one that I personally love. This was Crystal's first time ever seeing the original 1933 King Kong film.
I made it.
You made it through the whole thing. In classic black and white, no less.
Yeah.
Because there is a color version, but if you really want to get the authentic feel of watching this film, if you were an audience member back in the year of 1933, you gotta watch it in black and white.
Yeah.
So with that said, before we go into any fun facts about the film, I want to get Crystal's initial reactions to watching this film.
I was very surprised at first. I thought I wasn't going to get into it because, it was in black and white, and I knew that, it didn't have all the stuff that we have in our generation today.
Mm-hmm.
And it did catch my attention at some parts, with some of how it was, like, the stop motion movement,
yes.
of, like, some of the characters, and,
which was revolutionary, actually, at the time. I think this was one of the very first films, if not the first film, to use stop motion in a major motion picture.
Yeah. Overall, like, thought it wasn't too bad. Like, there were some parts where I was kind of like, huh?
Yeah. Like, there's some things that were kind of confusing, because at one point in the film, there's one character named Jack Driscoll.
Yeah.
And at one point, the director named Carl Denham, the character Carl Denham, director, called him John Driscoll, which is, it's like, okay, is his name Jack or John? Yes, we're a fan of CinemaSin, so yeah, kind of a bit of a sin referring to him as John instead of Jack, but definitely one of the things I noticed while watching the film, you definitely notice that it's definitely a product of its time, because the character Jack Driscoll, played by, and I wrote this down so I wouldn't forget, his name was... Is that the
one we couldn't pronounce?
No, Bruce Cabot. I'm probably mispronouncing that. Bruce Cabot.
Apologies on that.
Cabot played Jack Driscoll.
Yeah.
And in the story, he's referring, women are a nuisance. They shouldn't be on the ship. They, and all that. And women are such a nuisance and always a bother. And
they should never be on ships, period.
Well, they just get in the way all the time, no matter where. And that's definitely the product of that time, because women weren't really doing much back in 1933.
Not like they could.
Not really,
to
no.
be honest.
Yeah. And that's one thing that kind of hurts it if you're watching it in today's world, and it wouldn't work in today's world, because women, as you and I clearly know, are more than capable of doing things better than men.
Very much so.
It's just it just comes to the person.
Yeah.
But anywho, so
and they're able to move around more freely than during that time.
But yeah, no, this film is very dear to me and very dear to a lot of people. Fun fact, this film inspired the acclaimed director Peter Jackson into getting filming in the first place, which he would make his own version in 2005.
Yes.
But in case you're not familiar with some of other Peter Jackson's films, he's the one who made, what was it called? Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Over dramatic. Jeez.
What?
But, the acting back then was a very different style, and some of it kind of, I could see where, like, you kind of, you felt off with it, because the acting style back then was very different.
Well, and then one of the parts that I pointed out during the movie was when those natives kind of snuck onto the ship, swiped Anne.
Who was played by the beautiful... We gotta mention her because she's an iconic actress.
What was her name?
Her name, I put it down here somewhere. The iconic Fay Wray.
Yeah, she did a very good job for the picture at the time.
Yes, no, she's a very iconic actress. Which, when they were producing the film, she was doing 4 more films after that film.
I did not know that when he first said it, so I was very surprised.
Research, my dear, research.
I must do research.
Yes, but yeah, no, she, very iconic. In fact, another little fun fact: as she was passing in 2004, while she was in the hospital, this very same film surprisingly was playing on the television at the time. Which I thought, that's a interesting fun fact. I found that on IMDb's page.
Huh.
So.
But anyway, going back to it, I kind of pointed out when the natives were like pulling her off the ship without making a sound at all. Like, you would have heard her at least slightly struggle, like hit the board behind her maybe.
She might have, but storytelling.
I know. I have to.
I know. It bothered you a bit. Yeah, if you think that's going to bother you, wait till we watch the 2005 version, because the way they kidnapped her on that one was also kind of a bit of a shock as to how nobody noticed. But that's not much of a sin. Just suspend your disbelief, for Pete's sakes. But anywho, no, she's very famous for this role because, she plays the classic damsel in distress. But also, her scream is very iconic. They had to, in the line of, scream, man, scream for your life! And the scream's very iconic for her. Because everybody knows that scream of her. Yeah. I can't do it, but... Poor cover your eyes and all that. But phenomenal actress.
Applause to her.
Yeah, no, they actually, when she passed, they... did something. I think they turned off the lights of the Empire. They did something with the Empire State Building to acknowledge her climb with King Kong back then when she passed. So, in case you have never heard of the story of King Kong, I know Sam, when he's usually here, says, adding the plot doesn't really add anything. So I'm just going to basically do my little fun thing of explain the plot in as few words as possible. Maybe we'll make it into a game of a certain amount of words or less.
And go.
One pretty woman gets captured by ape. Ape takes New York to make money. Ape gets shot down off tall building. Yeah, no. Maybe we will make that a game. Explain the plot in less than a certain amount of words. Give us a suggestion of how many words you think we should try to explain a future movie plot.
That'd be interesting.
That would be fun.
I would join in on that one.
Yes, explain the movie plot as few words as possible.
If you have any movie suggestions to do it for
we'll get to that later, dear. But anywho, so yeah, no, the story's a lot of fun. It's more when the film came out, like it's considered like horror. Yeah. Because you're seeing a bunch of giant monsters. You're seeing T-Rex. You're seeing the other dinosaurs. You're seeing a giant 25-foot gorilla.
There's a pterodactyl.
Yes, there is a pterodactyl. There's some kind of snake, like, dinosaur thing.
I took it as more of a evolved lizard.
It looked kind of like that.
But I think, was there a stegosaurus?
Yeah, there was a stegosaurus. Okay, yeah, so the men killed the stegosaurus.
Okay, so I was
That
correct.
was one of the things you didn't like.
Yeah.
Because you were pointing out that, like, oh, come on.
There was you could definitely tell in there was kind of a distance thing when one of the characters, like, throws the
gas bomb to make him fall asleep.
I literally said out loud,
Come on!
Come on! That does not work.
It doesn't work. Gas bombs don't work that way!
He had fun when I said
that. No,
it was just like...
No, the film was considered like mostly like a horror base. Because like Kong was basically the horror monster. Yeah. And with that was one of the things that kind of hurt the film. Because I had not seen this till like a few years before. So I already watched Peter Jackson's film, and I will go ahead and say it. I'm going to say it again when we review that one, but I honestly prefer Peter Jackson's film over the directors who made it, which was Marion Cooper and Ernest Schutzack. I think I already forgot how to pronounce his name after even listening to the proper pronunciation before this.
I think so.
But, I mean, not to say that it's bad, and I will do a comparison when I do that one, but...
Maybe do, like, scene comparisons,
like, both of them have a certain charm, because watching this, again today, there's a nostalgic charm. If you watch any old black and white films, you know, there's just some kind of charm to it that... Yeah. For some people, it appeals to them. Others, like kids with short attention span, will not, like, when's the good stuff going to happen?
Yeah.
Basically. And, you know, this film is very inspirational for a lot of different movie directors, like I said, Peter Jackson, but without this film, a lot of other films couldn't have happened with with its special effects at the time. Yeah. Speaking of stuff at the time, this film made over about $90,000 in the box office, which at the time was the highest it had ever been for that time, which of course we now know a lot of films have beaten that.
Well, and then another fun fact.
Even with inflation.
And one of the scenes, you know, there was a character who said, like, he paid $20 for a ticket.
Yes.
And with the inflation, all that, didn't you say, like, 300 something?
Yeah, I read, like, another fact, like, tickets for the movie Kong, which was $20 at the time, which, if inflated, was somewhere around $380. I couldn't remember quite the number, but it was around that. Which was kind of...
It was very surprising.
A little surprising. It's like, geez Louise. Inflation. But yeah, other than that, I'm glad you overall enjoyed it. I, of course...
Overall, mostly enjoyed it. I saw the 2005 version before this one, but you gave me, like, fun facts about it. Yeah. And all that, so yeah, I was able to understand it.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that when we do that review. Mm-hmm. But no, this one's just a really enjoyable film if you love classic black and white.
Yeah.
I don't watch too many black and white films because I also kind of have a short attention span. Which, if you haven't noticed, you're probably saying, well, no, duh. But, no, this film actually did some more fun facts. This film actually helped RKO Pictures, which is the one who produced the film. It actually, because of its success, helped them avoid bankruptcy, which I do think they eventually did go bankrupt.
But it kept them from.
But it kept them, at the time, from going bankrupt then.
Yeah.
I gotta say, like I said, I love Fay Wray. She's a wonderful actress in this.
Did really well. Yeah. For me, watching it the first time, I thought
she was the classic damsel in distress of the time. The Bruce Cabot as Jack Driscoll, you know, classic. I'm going to be the hero of the story, and I just love the old fashioned voices, the way they talked, especially Carl Denham.
Yep.
He was a very favorite character. I liked both this portrayal of the character and, of course, when Jack Black took the character.
Yeah.
Let's see, who played... Robert Armstrong played Carl Denham in this one. And I love his voice. It reminds me of the old 1933 time. And
more than chains. He's always been king of his world, but we'll teach him fear. We're millionaires, boys. I'll share it with all of you. Why, in a few months it'll be up in lights on Broadway. Kong, the eighth wonder of the world!
And I'll do a comparison of the two actors' portrayals. Honestly, I like both a lot, but I'll get more on that when I do the first one.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. With me seeing both films now, I thought, you know, and some scenes he did point out to me that were similar in regards to it.
In regards, tell, and then the references to that.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
From the first film, you'll see the references in Peter Jackson's, because you can tell Peter Jackson is a huge fan of this film and is one of his favorites.
Oh, yeah. And
little fun fact I'd like to point out is, of course, the music. Yes. Music always helps a film.
Yes.
It's a crucial part of the film. It creates the atmosphere. It drives, how the audience is supposed to feel, whether it be tension or anticipation or fun-filled, action-y stuff.
Yeah, you get the emotion rolling pretty much the scene.
Yes, that's important too. The emotion, the music also draws out the emotion. It makes you feel the emotion.
Yeah.
This was one of the very first films. There was among a lot of films, but it was among the first to have a full. I wrote it down. I wrote it down in better words. Among the first films,
full soundtrack kind of thing.
To have a completely original musical score. It was one of among the very first to do that.
Yeah.
At the time, and I'm just making sure I haven't. Oh yes, I'll get to those when we get to about the when we finally give our score.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, like Kong is a very interesting character. That's why I even bothered watching it, the original, because I wanted to see like what was it about this film that inspired so many directors to get into film because of this? Because a lot of directors said that this is one of their favorite films and got them into it. And I just wanted to see what was the whole appeal. And after watching it, and again for a second time today, which makes me sad that I haven't watched it more, but I've got so many films, I watched so many, but so little time to do. But the charm is there. There's a lot of good acting for that time anyway. Not as great as some of the performances we see today, but honestly, it's probably mostly the reason why I love it is because of the nostalgic. The
definitely nostalgia
of old filmmaking, and I love film and all over, and just having that variety.
Yeah.
But it's not perfect. Let's get a little bit to the negatives, and I'll say it is not perfect. It is definitely a product of its time, as I said. But if you go into the mindset of trying to be like somebody who, imagine what it was like back in 1933. You didn't have phones. You didn't have. The only way you could have fun is actually going outside or playing games with your friends in the house. There was no television, no internet, no nothing. It was, let's go play some stickball, Jimmy.
How did they survive?
How did they? Well, honestly, some people would argue it was a better time back then, but it wasn't all that great because that was during like the Depression, so not all that great. But
it had its perks.
But if you imagine, like, let's go see the movies. Let's go see the movies today, and if you go see that. If you go into the mindset of like, okay, try to think of yourself as a person who has no phone, no internet, none of that stuff to distract you, which unfortunately you did get a little distracted by that. But mostly that was the overture, which is the beginning, and that's a fair point because it's nothing but music playing.
Well, and considering like it was the black and white version, I really
you also have a short attention span.
To a degree.
But anyway, going in, like, trying to... Like, because when I first watched it, and again today when I watched it, I put my phone away, I let it go, charge it, I was not going to touch it, not going to be distracted. And, it back then, it would be a great joy. I would have... If I was back then, in 1933, I would have absolutely loved it. Another fun fact. This was one of the first film to ever be re-released.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it was re-released, and I'm going to try without looking at my notes. I'm pretty sure it was re-released back in 1938, and dang it, I'm going to have to look.
Yeah.
It was 1938, 1942, and 1952. You
got the first one right.
Yeah, I did get the first one right but it was the first film to ever be re-released.
Yeah.
So that speaks volumes as well. Mm-hmm. But, there's just a lot, like I said, a lot of charm to it. And despite how Kong kind of looks with the clunky, it reminds you of the Abominable Snowman from the Rudolph special. The movement's clunky, it's stop motion, you're going to have a bit of clunkiness, but at the time, no one had seen that, really.
No, it was, in that time, it was probably the biggest thing to ever...
It was one of the things
come in, like if you... And another thing I was going to say is that, we're not in a theater. We're in our home.
We're in our home. Yeah, we're in
watching it. So there's kind of a big difference.
Yeah, there's a big difference.
The feeling of that one.
Yeah. You got to really use your imagination while watching it. But yeah, no, it was just that I can see why it's got such a following and why so many people love the original King Kong film. Surprisingly, if you look on Rotten Tomatoes, you'll see it actually has a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It's really good, guys.
Which is, I mean, of course, some people don't really like Rotten Tomatoes and all that, but it's still quite impressive when you look at some of the films today that have been made that don't have a score near as good as that.
Yeah.
But overall, the film is just, it's a piece of history. Yeah. Honestly. In fact, now it's time, before we give our final ratings, because we're getting really close, I think we are getting a little bit redundant at this point.
I think we've
covered most of everything.
Yeah.
So last bit of fun facts before giving our final ratings, so this is what it comes with, how iconic the film is. And I'm also buying time to look at it. Okay, so it was ranked 47th greatest film of all time by Entertainment Weekly. Yep. It was ranked number 4 on American Film Institute's list of greatest films in the genre fantasy. And in 1991, hey, that was the year I was born. Hey. It was added to National Film Registry by the U.S. Library of Congress. So wow. It is still a huge pop culture icon because we still have, I mean, this film I mostly watched because I had fun with it. Yeah. Obviously. But also because this film inspired so many countless films in the future. And directors, as I said. But one fun thing that makes me love King Kong so much is because it was because of this film that led to the creation of Godzilla. Yes. Which I guess I'll tell the fun fact now for that. Because we will review the original Godzilla of 1954. We were watching the Japanese version. Japan was so impressed by this film. Well, the guy who made it, I can't remember, but I'll remember when we filmed that. Was that they wanted to try to do stop motion, but they didn't because it was too costly to do so. Yeah. So that was what led to Godzilla being what they used called suitmation. Mm-hmm. So they had a guy in a suit. But yeah, no, it was because if it weren't for King Kong, honestly, we wouldn't get Godzilla, which is is my personal favorite giant movie monster kaiju. I have his name tattooed right on my arm. So, nerd. Anyway, so moving on then to final verdicts. Crystal, what would you give this film? Remember, it's out of 5 berries. That's
what I was thinking. So mostly as a first time watcher, I would probably say like it has its good pros and it has its cons. I'm probably gonna give it 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. Good. Because honestly, watching it again and. I was trying really hard not to, again, compare it to the 2005 version, which I liked a lot more, in my opinion, for several different reasons. But overall, I also have to give it... I mean, if you think about it as far as... time, of course, it didn't age terribly well. It still doesn't... I mean, it holds up greatly for the nostalgic feel, but... Other ways, it just not hold up as strong as it did back then. So, honestly, I would give it also a 4 out of 5. Giving it a total of 8 out of 10, which is kind of how I feel if I were to rank it out of 10. That's kind of what I would give it.
I agree.
Because we're millennials. We have, we've been spoiled by today's special effects.
Spoiled, rotten about how things have... changed from when, we came around to now in the 2000s.
But it is still, it's just a fun, nostalgic film to watch.
Oh, it is.
On a nice Sunday evening. Yeah. Or Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. One of the two.
So that concludes this episode. Before we say bye-bye and everything. Good night, everybody. We're starting now. We want to get you, the audience, more involved with the show. So if you follow us on Twitter, which you can find in the description below, but also have the @ so we are at RMB Reviews. I don't know if I'm going to put it there, but we'll figure out that in post. But if you want to be part of the show, we want to get you involved. We want to hear your thoughts on films that we're reviewing. Maybe any questions you have about the film, or just overall like your opinions of the film if you've seen it. And so use the hashtag, and I'm going to put it up here somewhere. Look around the screen. It could be here. It could be there. Yes, it's going to be off screen because I'm pointing off screen right now. No, it will be somewhere. I'll make it float around maybe. I don't know. But the hashtag is After Barry Credits.
Yes.
So that's right here, somewhere. Hashtag After Barry Credits. Capital A, capital B, capital C. A, B, C. Easy as 1, 2, 3. A, B, C. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
I couldn't help it. But anyway,
it was out there.
We did put the hashtag out on our Twitter, so make sure you're following us on Twitter so you can be part of the show to tweet us. Feel free to tag us in the tweet. Did you just stick your tongue out?
No, I was blowing dust particles.
Oh, you're blowing dust particles. I don't know why I thought you stuck your tongue out. But even though this is the first time we're using it, I am going to quickly check on the phone to see if anybody bothered. I mean, we have measly 17 followers, so probably not.
It's just a start.
But it's just a start. But just for fun facts. Nope, nothing there. Just what I did.
It'll blow up soon.
Hopefully. If not, it's going to just keep being awkward every time at the end. Yippee for awkwardness. But yeah, no, the last one using the hashtag was when I said that we were about to start watching. So feel free to do that. But since there's no things, I guess that's it for the show.
I guess so. For now.
But remember, so I'll say it again. Like I'm going to be like an advertiser. I'm going to use my old time voice.
Okay.
Make sure if you want to be part of the show, use the hashtag After Barry Credits to be part of the Razz My Berries reviews. Thank you very much. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I now have left to say, leave a comment, subscribe, push that like button if you actually bothered to like the show. If you want a refund, too bad you didn't pay for it. You only wasted your time.
Very good.
And now, we're signing off. Adios.